Now at 5, guilty again. Mark Jensen's second trial for the death of his wife Julie ends with the jury convicting him of first-degree intentional homicide. Bruce Harrison was in the courtroom when Jensen heard the jury's verdict.
The jurors that did deliberate have informed the bailiff that they have a verdict.
For the second time in his life,
We, the jury, find the defendant, Mark D. Jensen, guilty of intentional homicide of the first degree.
a jury convicted Mark Jensen of killing his wife, Julie Jensen.
Juror number 1, is this your verdict? Juror number 2, is this your verdict?
The state says he poisoned her with antifreeze. His defense claimed she took her own life. The trial lasted 3.5 weeks, but jury deliberation took just over 6 hours.
I really want to thank you on behalf of all the judges in the county.
A jury first convicted Jensen of the murder in 2008, but he got a new trial this month after his conviction was thrown out over a piece of evidence, a letter.
She said, if anything happens to me, give this to the police.
Julie Jensen's letter to a neighbor indicated she was afraid of her husband, but the state Supreme Court said it violated Mark Jensen's rights. Attorney Robert Jamboys prosecuted Jensen in both trials.
I did lay awake at night thinking of ways that I was going to convict Mark Jensen, and now I don't have to think about that anymore.
I asked Jensen's defense team for a comment after he was led from the courtroom, but they declined. Sentencing is scheduled for April, and once again, the state is seeking life without parole. Reporting in Kenosha, Bruce Harrison, TMJ4 News.
We want to bring in our legal expert. He's defense attorney Jonathan Lavoie, the law firm Kim and Lavoie. John, thanks for joining us this evening. What surprised you about this go-around, the second trial for Mark Jensen?
I was a little surprised that the jury came back so fast. I thought that with this long of a delay and this much evidence that they would have sifted through the evidence in a much more significant way. It was very clear with only just about 6 hours of deliberations that they thought it to be a pretty clear case against Mr. Jensen, and they returned the guilty plea very, very quickly. So that was surprising to me.
The piece of evidence that was not admissible in this trial that was in the first, clearly it didn't make a whole lot of difference. But what was the sticking point? Explain to everybody why that evidence could not be used in this trial.
So this was like the letter from beyond the grave. It's a letter that his wife wrote that essentially said that if something happens to me, it was my husband. And this was a battle in the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court for years and years and years. And you're right, Steve, at the end of the day, the evidence was strong enough without it. But clearly the prosecutor wanted to use that evidence. They weren't allowed to use it, but they got a conviction anyway.
Mark Jensen's been fighting this last 25 years of his life. The fight will continue. You believe he will appeal?
I think there will be another appeal, but I do believe that the sentence will be life in prison without the possibility of parole again. And I'm certain there'll be another round of appeals, but I think his luck might be up on this one, Steve. I think that this conviction is going to be very hard to overturn.
Attorney Jonathan Lavoie, thank you, as always.